Sorry. We are reentering open session at 7:31. May I have a roll call?
Member Durr? Here. Member Dr. Coe? Member Cooley? Here. Member Wisniewski?
Here.
Member Stennett?
Here.
Member Dr. Akras? Here. Member Wood?
Here. 106 years ago, at the 11th hour, on the 11th day in the 11th month, the war that had torn the world apart had ended and the armistice was enacted. Now we have the honor of setting aside time and space to thank those who have chosen to not just defend our country at war, but to defend the country at times of peace by defending the Constitution and rule of law that our country was founded on. Veterans Day has always had a special place in my heart growing up in military Department of Defense schools. I come from a family of veterans who served proudly, and my sister's husband continues to serve today. To all veterans, we thank you for your service. I would like to take a moment to thank D219 staff who let us know that they have served our country and continue to serve our community here at D219. Jack Ballard, U.S. Navy, Richard Ardisana, U.S. Marines, Jerome Baker, U.S. Navy, David Jenkins, U.S. Navy, Sidney Smith, U.S. Army, Nick Notardonato, I apologize if I misspeak, U.S. Marines, Brian Lishok, U.S. Navy, Jeffrey Sachs, U.S. Army, Frank Tomashkovich, U.S. Navy, Matthew Allen, U.S. Army. We are honored tonight to have 3 D219 veterans here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we would like to welcome Frank, Matthew, and Sydney to lead us in the pledge.
All right. We don't need to even say, please stand. Very good.
All right, thank you.
All right. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your service to both our country and our community. Now, please join us in welcoming seniors Sarah Van Hees, Angie Zaya, Michelle Adefala, juniors Gabriela Soriano, Adele Doskoseveza, Solomon Davids, and sophomore Victor Wang, who will perform the national anthem.
Do you need to say it?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave, home of the brave.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Dela Cruz. That was fantastic. We appreciate you all for coming here this evening. Now go home and study. All right. I call to order, as you might notice on the agenda, we actually have a public hearing in addition to our meeting this evening. So I'm going to call to order the public hearing on November 11, 2025 at 7:36 PM for the purpose of intent of the Board of Education to transfer $5,992,488 from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund of the district. I'm seeking public comment.
Nothing for public hearing comment, those are all.
It seems that we have no public comment at this time. Hearing none, I call the public hearing to a close at 7:37 PM. All right, fellow board members, are there any changes to the agenda? All right, seeing none, we will proceed. We will now proceed to public comments. We will hear in-person comments in the order they were received. Each individual will have up to 3 minutes for their comment. The board secretary, Candace Cooley, will let you know when your time has expired. Public comments will proceed and be kept to 1 hour this evening. I'm going to call the first person. Again, I'm going to apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name. Rachel Powell. So Rachel, you're going to want to hit the button, make the light red, and your microphone's on.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Rachel Powell, and my daughter is a senior at Niles West. Our family recently participated in the D219 German Exchange Program as a host family. I'm speaking to you tonight to both thank you for the amazing opportunity that you have given our students and our community, but also to provide you with a glimpse of the fantastic cross-cultural experience that this was. Although the schedule for the German students was pretty packed, we were able to connect with our German student, Franzi, almost every evening for dinner and on the one weekend that they were in town. Each German student came with ideas of what they wanted to see when they were here. When we asked Franzi what she wanted to see on the one free day she had with us, she emphatically said, "The Home Alone house." We also made sure she made it to Raising Cane's, another must on her wish list. Mostly though, Franzi enjoyed soaking in the American culture. We enjoyed sharing everyday mundane things that were new and exciting for the German students, such as trips to our large grocery stores, our local bakery, Starbucks, and Old Orchard Mall. Franzi truly enjoyed shadowing our daughter at Niles West because she was interested in learning the differences and the similarities between our school system and their school in Brussels. A group of the D219 students brought their German students to see several district athletic events during their visit, including the Niles West girls volleyball game, the Battle of the Middle Schools basketball tournament at Niles West, and the Niles North homecoming football game. Our German student was blown away by the Niles North pep rally and expressed that she wished they had the same type of school spirit event in Brussels. We rounded out the visit with a Halloween-themed farewell party, complete with limbo and costume contests, where my daughter and Franzi dressed as Elphaba and Glinda from Wicked. Through this program, not only have we gotten to know our German student, but also her family. We look forward to someday visiting them in Brussels and hope they will visit us here. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the German teachers, Mr. Neumeier, Ms. Aducci, Ms. Rodriguez, and Mr. Neal, and also Mrs. Neumeier. Their impeccable planning and spirited enthusiasm made for an amazing experience for all participants, and I know my daughter can't wait to continue her cross-cultural journey in Germany and Austria this summer. Thank you again for allowing our district students to have this wonderful experience.
Thank you. Now I call Sarah Powell.
Hi, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for allowing us to have this exchange program. I'm going to share a little bit about what I did with my German student Franzi on top of what my mom said. She shadowed my day at school, so she got to experience the class schedule. She went to my calculus class, my AP psychology class, and something that really came up a lot was the fact that we have such a big school, a robust program. We have so many options and electives, and she was just really amazed at how much school spirit we have. And then kind of later in the week, we showed her around my neighborhood, so she got to see the kind of Halloween decorations in the Lincolnwood Towers. We showed her to a local bakery. We also showed her the grocery store, and she was also amazed at how many options there were. We went to a pumpkin farm. She got to have a little snack of like apple cider and donuts. There was a petting zoo and a corn maze, so very like American activities. And overall, it was just really nice to get to know someone who's from like a different cultural background, but shares the same interests as me. So I do gymnastics at Niles West, and Franzi does gymnastics at Schönborn Gymnasium. And it was just really interesting to talk about like the different experiences we have. Like she does gymnastics outside of school with club, and then I do it in high school. So yeah, it was really interesting talking to her about that, and just the fact that she takes like 3 languages at once, and yeah, just the ways in which our schools were different. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to Germany and Austria this summer. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Calling to the podium, Piero Ruiz.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, and myself as a Niles West alumni wish to thank the district for allowing the 20 years and continuing of the German exchange program. And we love the ability to learn from people of similar ages but also different backgrounds on how not only it is the perspective of an American but also a perspective of a German, and how the communities coincide together on things. They have shared interests, shared ideas, but also the differences that make each other unique. And I took my German exchange partner, Kara Johanbrauer, so we took her around different places, and a place that we didn't expect her to enjoy so much was a crumble cookie, because apparently that's a big thing over there in Germany. And they just enjoyed the big things like Six Flags and whatnot, deep dish pizza, the best. But they also like the small stuff of just different houses, different cultures, the pride we have for being an American, but also being a student. Because the school that I go to, Niles West, I wish to say has around 2,000 students. A single grade year of a Niles West, like just the seniors alone, makes up more than the people of the entire school in the Schönborn Gymnasium. And it's just a different process of how things are ordered over there, where it's more specialized. And being over here, it just expands their views on how to communicate, how to think outside the box, think of other people's opinions. So it was just a pleasurable activity to spend time with them, learn from them, and them learning from us and the ways we experience things over here. So once again, I wish to thank the district for having many years and many more, hopefully, of this exchange program. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next, I call Jenny, is it Marin? Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little shorter. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jenny Marin, and I am an alumni from Niles West, a teacher at Fairview, a current coach at Niles West, and a community member who hopes for Niles West to be the school of my future children one day. I'm here today, along with other community members, to ask this board to support our immigrant community. I urge you to pass the Immigrant Enforcement Operations Resolution and to not stop there. This resolution includes important regulations, restrictions, policy development, and language that can serve as building blocks in our commitment to creating an environment for our students and staff that is equitable, justice-oriented, safe, and unified. Over the last few months, I've had the privilege of witnessing what hope looks like in action, watching communities across Chicago and the surrounding suburbs being loud and unapologetic in their prioritization and protection of our immigrant families. This type of work and activism teaches us that you support marginalized people by lifting them up, not by trying to hide them away. This is the kind of support families like those of my gymnasts and like my own family need. So I urge us to pass this resolution and use it courageously, to be a model for our feeder schools, to collaborate with other districts, such as Evanston Township High School, who have already established policies and procedures to protect their students and families, and to collaborate and connect with local organizations, such as Sanctuary Niles Township, who are willing and able to provide emergency family planning tools, mutual aid opportunities,
community and educational outreach, procedural guidelines, know your rights training, and so much more. Change, resistance, and reform are accomplished when a group of people stand unified and unafraid, when instead of quietly whispering the words, "you matter," you say, "you matter," and we will fight unwaveringly until we live in a world where you are free, and scream it from the rooftops. Thank you.
Thank you. Karina Marin?
Hello, good evening. My name is Karina Marin, and I am also a Niles West alumni and community member who has come here today to urge this board to pass the Immigration Enforcement Operations Resolution and to continue protecting our immigrant community. As a community member who has brown skin, these past few months have been terrifying, to say the least. Unidentified and masked men have been running rampant through our neighborhood, waving guns close to our schools and spreading fear throughout our communities. I have seen them fly right past Oakton in front of Niles West. These masked men are here in our school neighborhoods, and I know that they have caused fear to spread to the students at this very high school, a school that I had always known to be diverse and welcoming, and this kind of fear and spreading of anxiety is not acceptable. We need our schools to continue to step up and protect students and staff. We need more proactive measures to ensure that our schools remain the safe and welcoming spaces that they always should be. I urge this board to pass the Immigration Enforcement Operations Resolution, to develop clear, transparent policies and procedures, to partner with community organizations, expand our allocation of Know Your Rights resources, and to learn from the districts around us who have engaged with these practices. This resolution is a good start, and I encourage the board to see it as such, just a start. The students who go here now and those in the future need their leaders to meet this moment with bold ideas, proactive measures, and continued action. I look forward to seeing how you all meet this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Kabir?
Hello, my name is Lisa Kabir, and I am a past alumni, a special educator, and I am currently a parent of a child at Niles West. I'm asking, as a concerned parent, to urge District 219 to take immediate actions to protect our immigrant students and families at our schools. Now that the executive branch has indicated ICE or CBP officials are no longer prohibited from conducting law enforcement operations, including arrests, in or around school buildings, schools are no longer considered sensitive locations. As a result of the executive branch decision and the increased ICE presence in our community, this past week, nearby school districts have initiated soft lockdowns. Federal agent safety plan procedures and emergency planning for families is needed. I have personally witnessed masked men in fatigues with long guns brutally assaulting our community members near Edison Elementary, right up the road on Lincoln and Oakton, near Lincoln Junior High School, and up the road from Madison Elementary School. I was witness to the brutality and trauma on Oakton and Asbury, right outside Chute Elementary School. This is not okay. I am asking you, I have it here, sorry. I am asking you as a school board to keep students safe and prevent harm, and I am requesting that you pass the Immigrant Enforcement Operations Resolution and to be a model to the Little 9 schools that feed into your district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Rox Salgado.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Salgado. I'm here tonight in solidarity with our immigrant families in our township, families who are living in fear, afraid to go to work, attend school, or carry out their daily routines to the presence of federal agents who are terrorizing our community. By now, you are undoubtedly aware of the recent incidents, acts that can only be described as kidnappings, that have taken place on our streets over the past several weeks. These actions have shaken our community to its core. As a resident of Skokie, I'm here to urge the school board to pass the Immigration Enforcement Operations Resolution. I urge the school board and our superintendent to take a principled stand. We need a clear and courageous statement affirming your commitment to protecting all students and families, regardless of their status. I also urge the implementation of Know Your Rights training for all staff in every school building. This training is essential to ensure that educators and administrators are equipped to support students and families who may be impacted by immigration enforcement. Additionally, I call for the development and adoption of a comprehensive safety protocol that clearly outlines how staff should respond in various scenarios involving ICE presence, whether on school grounds or affecting the lives of our students and their families. Our schools must be sanctuaries of safety, inclusion, and dignity, not places of fear. Thanks.
Anja, now I call to the dais Anja van Ostrand. I apologize if I misspoke.
Good evening. My name is Anja van Ostrand, and I'm a parent of two seniors in Niles North, at Niles North. We're an immigrant family, and I can only echo what you have heard from alumni, teachers, and concerned community members, as well as parents before me. I welcome the resolution, but I do want to urge you that more transparency and communication is needed, as well as training and clarity on what students know about Know Your Rights. High school students should be able to know what their rights are, and I know from my kids personally, they have not heard anything yet in school. They're concerned for their peers. I know of an incident where agents were running a red light that was right around lunchtime. So I urge you to take the resolution as a start, but also to continue with clear communications to parents, to students, to staff, more training, and then clarity and transparency about procedures. Thank you.
Thank you. That does conclude our hour of public comment. Thank you to all of our visitors for your comments. We appreciate you coming to the podium. We will now have comments from our board student representatives. First, we're going to hear from Amara from Niles West.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, good evening, everyone. I'm Amara, the board representative for Niles West. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I'd like to begin this month's update by highlighting a few exciting community events that occurred and are coming up. First, the Trunk or Treat event hosted by Dance Marathon and ASB, which was a huge success, marking ASB's first ever community-wide event. We had a fantastic turnout with Future Wolves joining in and clubs showcasing their creativity. All proceeds went to the Niles Township Food Pantry, and thank you to everyone who contributed to making it such a fun and meaningful event. I'd also like to recognize the Battle of the Junior Highs, a community basketball tournament hosted by DECA, our business club, where Niles West seniors represented their feeder schools in an event that brought together students, families, and staff for an afternoon of school spirit and friendly competition. After several exciting and competitive games, congratulations to Lincoln Hall, who took home the championship title. Additionally, the German exchange student program took place last month, where Niles West students had the opportunity to host visiting students from Germany. It was a great experience for both groups to connect and learn from each other as they shared culture, explored Chicago landmarks, and built lasting international friendships. Shifting to academics, ASB hosted our first ever listening session, where our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction joined students to hear feedback about key academic topics such as Capstone Week and the Senior Final Exam Policy. This was a valuable opportunity for students to share their perspectives and ensure that their voices are included in shaping future academic discussions. We also held our annual Wolfpack Expo, where departments and electives showcased their classes, helping underclassmen explore potential courses and plan their schedules for next year. In addition, the annual Career Expo, called the Focus on Your Future Fair, recently took place. This event gave students the opportunity to explore different career paths, connect with professionals, and learn about potential future opportunities. And finally, to end the tonight, congratulations to all the new National Honor Society members who were inducted earlier this month. Your dedication to service, leadership, and scholarship continues to inspire our community. Thank you all for your time tonight.
Thank you, Amara. Ashley from Niles North.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education District 219 community. As we've said before, ASB is still in its infancy, but even in the early stage, it's become a powerful vehicle for student voice and school spirit. This year has been all about continuation, continuing the progress we've started, continuing to listen, and continuing to make sure every student at Niles North knows they have a place to speak, to belong, and to be heard. In recent months, students have come forward with thoughtful concerns and ideas ranging from changes to the school lunch program, to feedback on spirit days, to meaningful discussions about upcoming course requirements. What's special is it's not just us, the students that are speaking up, it's that administration is listening. We've seen conversations happening with students, not just about them. The fact that decisions like the course requirement discussions have been brought directly to student groups such as ASB reflects an important shift, one where student input is valued in decision-making processes. We deeply appreciate and thank our administrators for their willingness to include us and partner with us in shaping the future of our school. The fall season has been a season of excellence, not just on the scoreboards, but in spirit. Across football, volleyball, and soccer, our athletes have played not only for victory, but for purpose, dedicating games to breast cancer and child cancer awareness. The gym fields, the field lights, they show not just athletes, but on the causes that unite us. Our football team took a huge step this year, winning more games than in years past and finishing second in their conference. They capped off the season with an unforgettable 55-7 victory on both senior night and homecoming. Beyond the wins, what truly defined the team was the sense of family they built. Weekly Thursday dinners where parents, teachers, and players gathered to share food, laughter, and encouragement before game day. Our soccer team also made an incredible run, reaching the regional finals and finishing strong despite a tough 2-0 loss to Lane Tech. They secured their third CSL North Conference title and earned standout victories, including a 4-0 win against Whitney Young in Lincoln Park and a thrilling derby win over West. Led by captains Jason, Elion, and Gael, this team has become one of the closest, most tight-knit groups, proving that unity, even among differences, can create something truly special. And then our girls wrestling team, rewriting what it means to look like, what inclusion looks like in sports. These athletes are stepping onto the mats not long ago didn't have room for them. Now they are not just competing, they're winning, inspiring, and redefining what strength looks like at Niles North. Our debate team carried the same determination to the University of Michigan this fall. At the annual University of Michigan High School Debate Tournament, competing against schools from across the country, Len and Mina took home first place in the junior varsity division of policy debate. Other students across the team also did an outstanding job at this national competition, like sophomore Mustafa, who advanced to quarterfinals. Their victory wasn't just a win for debate, it's a win for what it means to be prepared, focused, and fearless. Meanwhile, STEMsters has been breaking barriers right here at home. By bridging STEM education to middle schoolers, they're opening doors early and showing younger students, especially those who might not see themselves represented in science, that they belong in those spaces. In many ways, this mission connects directly with the work of MSAN, which continues to expand outreach and promote equity for BIPOC students. Together, both organizations show how student leadership can drive inclusivity in both academics and community life. Don't forget to wish us MSAN students at Niles North and Niles West good luck on their upcoming trip to Washington, D.C. to attend the National MSAN Conference. The Muslim Student Association has been another reminder of what community looks like in action. Through their big sales, they've raised funds and, more importantly, set a large portion aside for local charities like Chai Care, a Muslim-led organization providing water, supplies, and compassion to those experiencing homelessness. Their generosity says something powerful, that being at Niles North, our student doesn't stop at our doors. It extends into our neighborhoods, into our cities, and into our shared humanity. This fall, we saw something new. The elective fair happened earlier than ever before, and that change mattered. It meant students had more time to explore, to ask questions, and to figure out who they want to be. Students and teachers stood side by side, not as speakers and listeners, but as learners together, sharing why they love and what they do, and helping other students find their spark. Then came the career fair, where dozens of local and national organizations met our students face to face. It was a reminder that Niles North is not a place that molds students into one path. It's a place that opens many. Whether college bound or curious about trade school, every student was given permission to imagine their future, not as it's expected, but as they wanted it to be. Last Friday, the auditorium filled with light, laughter, and sound for the variety show, one of Dance Marathon's biggest events of the year. In a single night, over $1,500 was raised for the Niles Township Food Pantry, nearly 3 times last year's amount. With more than 20 acts on stage, Desi dancers, solo singers, rock bands, and jazz vocalists. Different in backgrounds, different styles, yet every performer united under one purpose, to turn art into action. The night was proof that our diversity isn't a side note, it's a story within itself. And when we crowned our homecoming court, we did it differently this year, with categories spanning from activities, athletics, student life, and the arts. It was a celebration of all the ways students contribute to our community, a reflection that excellence doesn't wear just one face. Paired with events like the Trunk or Treat, these events built connection, laughter, and lasting memories. And finally, the Mid-Autumn Festival brought a beautiful close to the season. Organized by our Asian American community, students gathered to learn about the history of the holiday, share Korean foods like kimbap and kimchi pancakes, and celebrate together under lanterns and laughter. It wasn't just a cultural event. It was a moment of unity, a reminder that our traditions, stories, and celebrations all add something meaningful to the fabric of Niles North. Upcoming is the National Honor Society induction next Thursday, November 20th. National Honor Society wanted me to extend an invitation to all of you, and I hope to see you all there. Additionally, they wanted me to announce that Illinois Student Assistance Commission recently presented Niles North with the gold level of recognition for FAFSA excellence, with over 90% completion rate for the class of 2025. As we come to a close, when you look across Niles North right now, you can feel something shifting. You can see it in the classrooms, on the fields, in the hallways after the bell. Students who are curious, who are creating, who are taking ownership of the world they're growing into. This past month wasn't defined by one event or one success story. It was defined by the rhythm of community emotions, students speaking up, teachers guiding them forward, and administrators opening the door wider each time. But what's happening here isn't just academics or activities. It's about becoming a school where every person feels like they matter, where every passion has space to grow, and where every voice helps shape what comes next. I thank you for listening to my speech, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your night.
Thank you both. You both remind me of the excellence that is D219. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your voices at this table. Now we are going to move to the approval of the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any item off of the consent agenda? Seeing none. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call?
Member Dr. Ko, Member Cooley? Yes. Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes. I do want to take a moment, and for our audience playing at home, a friendly reminder that the approval of the consent agenda does not mean that we just blew through it. It means that there's been extensive conversations leading up to this meeting that have already encapsulated those items. And in order to maintain the business of the board, we went ahead and consolidated them. So now we're going to move to item A in the business section of the agenda, the board resolution. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution affirming the district's commitment to ensuring a safe educational environment?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I'd like to hear discussion on the resolution.
I'd just like to repeat that it's important that we stand in solidarity with the village in terms of our position and being able to stand for those who are marginalized in our community, in our values. So.
Thank you. I would also, I'd like to yes and that, and take a moment to say a couple things. I've debated a lot about what to say in this space. I personally feel very strongly what's happening in our district and in our country, and I've supported Tom in this administration's strategy that's been in place. On October 31st, we saw a significant need that strategy should shift. Poorly trained mercenaries acting under ICE came into our district, our space, our home, and it changed the theoretical into a fact. The resolution in front of you has been drafted and vetted by our legal team and has undergone extensive research. For anyone who questions why we as a board would raise this resolution, I would remind you that we don't ask your immigration status on our registration paperwork. We ask your residency. We only want to know where you live. If you live in District 219, you're entitled to a safe space for your educational experience. And if you work in District 219, you are entitled to a safe space for your work experience. You should not have to make a choice about whether or not you're going to protect and defend your students. I know that many of you will go to the mat for every one of them, but it shouldn't be something that you have to decide. No one agreed to work here. Nobody who agreed to work here with our students in an educational capacity agreed to that. This is our opportunity to build a legal moat around District 219 students and allow them to be, I think Ashley said, prepared, focused, and fearless. I would also remind anyone else who questions this resolution that we as a board have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the space and property of District 219, and this resolution absolutely does that. Are there any other comments or questions, discussion before the board in terms of this resolution? Okay. May I have a roll call?
Member Cooley? Yes. Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Dr. Koh? Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes. Thank you all so much for taking the time to read through the resolution, to support our students, and to support our immigrant families here in District 219. Now we're going to move to item B of the business agenda, the Illinois report card. I know many people have been waiting anxiously for the results to come in.
That's a great way to put it, anxiously.
And Christine is going to take us through that.
All right, thank you. For tonight's presentation, I'll be addressing the next two memos in one academic report. Typically, the November academic report includes AP scores, but we didn't want to wait to celebrate the amazing accomplishments of our students and staff, and we presented that report to the board in September. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the 2025 report card is an annual ISB report on progress towards educational goals. It went live to the world on October 30th. So the report card is part of the accountability systems that are required by the federal government. And this is just a brief timeline of those accountability systems, beginning with No Child Left Behind, ESSA, a waiver during our COVID years, and then the return of ESSA. And ESSA is the Every Student Succeeds Act, in which every school is given a summative designation, which is included in the report card. So of the options or possibilities for the summative designations, there are 5. There are exemplary, commendable, targeted support, and comprehensive support, and intensive support. Both Niles North and Niles West received a commendable summative designation, which was also the designation earned last year and the year before. 2 things to note: exemplary has the same criteria as commendable, except exemplary includes being in the top 10%. Comprehensive support is the bottom 5% of all schools in Illinois. So by design, the majority of schools who meet the requirement and do not require support will receive a commendable designation, which is a problem that the Illinois State Board of Education has identified. And so this is the last year we'll be using these designations, and it will be changing for next year. So this is the kind of justification that ISB had released regarding it. Because so much of the schools are identified as commendable, it doesn't allow for, well, one of the main things is that the bar post or the goal post is changing because it's a rank as opposed to an objective rating. But also it doesn't allow for schools to use the data for school improvement purposes or for targeted support to be provided to schools who are on the lower end of commendable. This was the timeline that was shared by ISB last week. They are currently conducting listening tours and released preliminary designations for the public to view and provide public comment. It is set to go to the ISB State Board of Education for approval in January, so that the following years, so October 26th, when this report is presented, will include the new designations on the report card. The anticipated performance levels, which are slightly different than what we've seen just a few slides ago, are similar, but essentially it breaks down what was commendable into 3 categories so that it's more spread across all of the designations. So back to present day, our high school indicators of student success includes the academic indicators, which is 75%, and that includes the English language arts proficiency, math proficiency, and ACT science for science proficiency. For those of you that may recall, this past spring was the first time that the ACT was administered, and so these are all different assessments and also different benchmarks that were utilized for all of these scores. So while the memo includes previous proficiency scores for ELA and math, they're not necessarily comparable because it's not the same benchmarks for both tests. This is how our students performed on the ACT in those 3 areas based on the Illinois benchmarks. So again, what is in the ACT memo is different than what's on the Illinois benchmarks because the Illinois ACT benchmarks are different than what's set by ACT, which is based on their college and career readiness scores. And I'll share a little bit of more of that later. With these scores in all 3 areas, we are outperforming the state. Historical data is not available because, again, this is the first time that we've administered the ACT. Moving forward, however, in addition to accumulating historical data, the report card will also include student growth data, which will not just be limited to high school, but actually from K-12. So one of the changes that was made to the Illinois report card this year and for years moving forward is that all of the assessments have a uniform performance levels so that parents and students especially can look at how they're doing across multiple grade levels instead of just individual grade bands, which is how it's been in the past. So this is how the old performance levels looked and what we're looking at now. And so we're using consistent language and similar benchmarks across all of the assessments for students from grades 3 through 11, which is when they take tests, so that we can look at them comparatively, longitudinally, and also using student growth percentiles. All right, so the next part of our academic indicator is our graduation rate. This one, unfortunately, did go down, but like everything else, the data, while not necessarily great, there's always more opportunities for us to learn and improve as a district. So one of the things that we noticed when digging into this data, well, one, let me just start by explaining the colors there. So this is a graduation cohort. So each of the rows indicates the number of years in which it took that cohort or the students in that cohort who graduated to graduate. So 2025 is for students who entered 9th grade in 21-22. Under 24, those gray diagonals entered in 2020-21. And so if they finished in 4 years, it was 92.4%, and then 5 years was 93.4%. So diagonals track the graduation rate for the cohorts beginning on when they entered in 9th grade. So looking at our current class, our class of 2025, who 88.6 of them graduated in 4 years, a celebration is that less students dropped out entirely. So that didn't necessarily contribute to the lower graduation rate. But when we look into our data, we're thinking, well, sorry, before we look into the data there, one of the things that we looked at over the last couple years with the addition of late starts and the shift to the SLOs, we really looked at how we're strengthening our curricula, implementing more rigorous standards and consistency across classes. So with that, we have more consistent expectations for all of our students. So that was one possible factor of why the graduation rate might have declined. So a glow is that we are doing better in our instruction, in our standards for students. A grow On the proactive side, providing better supports for students. One of the things that we saw in the data of, it's actually a really cool report, it shows every single student in the cohort and their trajectory, is that we had more students who were retained within the 4 years, which is why they didn't graduate in 4 years. So as a district, a proactive approach to better support those students would be progress monitoring over the years that they're in high school. Really looking at our interventions to ensure that they're supporting students in staying on grade level and on track, and then improving partnerships with our families so that we can provide that wraparound support. As a reactive, really looking at the options and opportunities that we are providing students to recover credits so that they can still graduate in 4 years. So currently that primarily includes summer school, so exploring other options like virtual school or other ways to recover credits so that students can still achieve that 4-year graduation, even if they might not have been as successful 1 year or in a particular course. The other biggest piece that I think we can leverage is our grade level assistant principals. They're really in a prime position to advocate and champion for students and really monitor and track their success, and also where they are in need of additional support, especially when they're at risk of failing a course. Another piece that's part of the Illinois report card is the equity continuum. This shows how our district is doing in 3 goal areas identified by the state: student learning, learning conditions, and elevating educators. So this is really a how we are doing and how we are closing gaps in those different areas. And our 2025 report is similar in terms of progress as our previous year, 2024. Questions on our Illinois report card?
Celia?
You may have answered this, but you did point out that the graduation rate is lower than it has in the last 5 years. The dropout rate, is that a new stat that we have on the report card?
We've always had access. Let me double check if that was listed as one of the new stat is the number of dropouts.
The number of dropouts. Oh, and that's what I was going to ask you was if it is a new stat, do we have internal stats? And do we see that? Because just because the graduation rate is lower than it has in the past, doesn't mean that they're not graduating. They're just graduating 5th year, 6th year, right? But what about the dropout rate? It seems like it's lower.
It is lower.
Okay.
So that was one of the, I looked at several possible factors.
Yeah.
That was one of them. So we've always had access to the number of dropouts and dropout rates. It's a very detailed report. What's different is what's published on the report card, and now that number is published on the report card.
Now, does since Niles, we have a lot of transient students, does that ever play a part in graduation rates?
So I haven't dug into how that impacts it.
Yeah.
I believe they're counted as transfer students, so they don't look at the transfer rate because
Okay,
it's
that
just
makes
students
sense.
who enter
Yeah.
9th grade in 21-2.
Okay, that makes sense.
Christine, could you go over, one of the focuses that has been in this board's attention has been absenteeism and really focusing on kids in front of teachers. We've gone to pretty extensive lengths to encourage that. Could you review the absenteeism numbers both for students and teachers?
I don't have it prepared because this is the academic portion of it, but I believe we have a attendance report prepared for that component later.
Oh, later in the year then? Okay. So looping in the report card with kind of actual current districts.
Yeah. The slide that I've removed in retrospect, I should have included. 25% are academic indicators. 25% is what they call school, I'm going to mess it up because it's a long one, school quality and success indicators, and that's where chronic absenteeism, the climate survey, and 9th grade on track is included.
And so we'll talk further about that, and we'll also fold it in. It's come up frequently, as you know, as a key member of the strategic planning process for both students and staff. And part of this is how do we refocus our school day to make sure
that our students are in front of our teachers as much as possible, and also making sure our teachers are there as much as possible to work with our students. So yes, this is certainly something that will come up in further reports.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Celia?
Sorry, I just had one, because I was going to bring it up in the ACT presentation, because I was just wondering if, because there are some studies that show that students who have chronic absenteeism typically, I mean, which would make sense, wouldn't score so high because of, lack of, so was wondering too, do you have any data on that? Like seeing that some, it looks like ACT, and I understand that previously we just have SAT scores to go off of, but it seems like overall in the state, the ACT scores have they're not that great. They're I think our district is a little higher than, say, CPS, the average score. But there are studies that show that some of that could be due to some students who have that chronic absenteeism, and we see that it continues to go up year after year.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if there's any, I see there is the correlation, but are you all actively looking at that information?
Absolutely. Without having the data in front of me, but
Sure.
thinking of the visits that I've
Yeah.
seen, I am confident that there is a correlation between attendance and academic performance. And if we overlay the ACT scores, it would be similar. So I am sure that is a strong correlation as supported by research.
One of the other correlations that's important in this is that the more engaged students are, including in rigorous coursework, the more present they are. So it's this element of, if you engage kids and they feel like, I can't miss this, they attend, and then thus, intuitively, it results in better grades. And that data is clear both here and nationally.
Terrific. Any other questions? Nor if you have a question, just feel free to pipe up, my friend. Okay, well then we'll go ahead and actually move to Christine's next presentation, related quite closely, which is the ACT score report.
Thank you. Yes, that was it was a great transition with your question about the ACT. So the ACT score report, so this is the data that's on the school report card, but the benchmarks are different because it's as reported by the ACT with their benchmarks. So it's sometimes unnecessarily confusing, but there are reasons why there's different benchmarks. So the ACT, this was a change by the state with the first administration being in spring 2025. It is accepted by all U.S. colleges and universities, and colleges use the scores to place students in the right courses at the right level. This is a general structure of the ACT that the students took on Tuesday, April 8th. It is a fully digital assessment with 5 components: English, math, reading, science, and an essay. One thing to note, for those of you who are parents of juniors especially, you may recall that our students who took the test on April 8th, that was also the day that the ACT experienced a nationwide technical issue. And so as a result, the start times for the test in some rooms were delayed by an hour. So that was very unfortunate for our students to have experienced that. The scores reflected in the report card and in this report today represent students who completed the test during that same day with the interruption, and also students who completed the test across multiple days because they were allowed to resume the test because of the interruption. To remedy this, the ACT provided students with vouchers to retake the test, and 150 students came in on a Saturday to take advantage of this opportunity. Those scores are not what's reflected in this report or the report card. The intent of that was to allow for students to have a better testing environment than what they experienced with the state reported or the state administered assessment. So the table in the memo is what I have here. It includes the recent, so the class of 2023 their 25 ACT summary. And so on the far left is the mean composite score. The ACT's score ranges from 1 to 36. There's no graph because this is the first time that we're providing this report, and it is a single data point. The benchmarks are the college and career readiness benchmarks as defined by the ACT, which means that there's a 75 to 80% chance of obtaining a C or higher in the corresponding credit-bearing class of that content area. So the benchmarks that are used for this report are here on the far left: English 18, Reading 22, Math 22, Science 23. On the right is so that you can see the comparison of the Illinois benchmarks at each grade level. So the grade 11 one is the one that's comparable to the ACT benchmark. 9 and 10 are what's aligned to the pre-ACT assessments for students at that grade level. All of which use that 36 range score.
Christine, can you go back one slide? I posed this question not necessarily for an answer, but for a point to ponder. We're struggling in math. I mean, if you look at English and reading, and science is a little behind, but like in math, there seems to be a struggle, and the struggle appears to be real. I don't think at this moment you can give any kind of, I'm just curious if there's anything we can point to, and more importantly, if there's any supports that we can provide, if there's anything that we could be doing differently, we the district, and we as the board could support, to help with that.
Sure. So I know that earlier I said we can't compare the benchmarks from previous years with the SAT, but what we're seeing is a decline across the state as a result of COVID. And so math is it's a subject that requires a lot of cumulative knowledge, and that chunk of what had happened during COVID was challenging, and there's still recovery that's happening. So I'm not saying that there's not more we can do, but I think that's why we're seeing larger dips in math than we are in other content areas. And so I agree we're not doing as well in math as we can, but as we look at scores across the state and over time, we're seeing similar trends.
So we can identify the causation we think. I am excited at some point to hear the solution or proposed solutions. Because I think as we're seeing now, the seniors graduating this year are the first kids who are back full-time in school from right after COVID, right? Am I counting backwards properly? And so I'm hoping that means there's going to be that swing up, but also there's that whole section of kids, about 4 years of kids, that we need to help support in some way. So I'm curious about that piece too.
I think we have to be courageous when we talk about math, not just here, but in this country, and how we look at it and how we decide what math pathways are for this century, for students and what they're going to need moving forward, and what role do courses play. And this is a discussion that's happening in some states more aggressively right now, and with what should be, what happens in elementary, what happens in middle, what happens in high school, versus what happens when you move on, and what those steps are, and when it's appropriate to introduce different topics. And the simple fact being that, because Christine's right, so much of this does come from COVID, but we were struggling before COVID. And this is, nobody likes to talk about accountability, and there were so many problems, No Child Left Behind, and I railed against the punitive nature of No Child Left Behind as a superintendent. Well, I wasn't a superintendent, I was a principal and a history teacher. With that being said, that time, that focus, we saw growth in math. And once we moved away from that nationally, we saw declines in math nationally that we have not recovered from. And so this is something that there has to be a will to say we're not okay with these results in math, and we have to put a premium on math. I've always said this about math. We've never said to kids, if a kid says, I'm not good at reading, we don't say, well, I hate reading too. At math, we give people a pass to be like, oh yeah, I'm not good at math either, I'm terrible. People wear it like a badge of honor, when math has to be elevated, how we talk about it. It has to be seen as the first of the sciences. We had to look at how we think about it. And I will say, if you go to the major teaching universities and talk about how they're training math teachers and how they talk about math, it has shifted dramatically in my lifetime. The math that we had in high school versus how it's taught now, depending, is a dramatic shift, and for the better, I believe. But I do think there's still structures that have not changed. What requires has not changed. Course sequence has not changed. So I don't mean to go off on a rant here, but there's things that we need to be courageous in this country about math.
Well, I think that part of the TLC and the curriculum revision is taking a look at the metrics provided and understanding and utilizing those. So I have utmost faith that Christine will spearhead that and manage it forward. I don't have any thought with that. I'm excited to see what that will look like when, all of those numbers are at least 50%, right? That's the happy yes there. So
there is nobody I'd rather be looking at math in this district than Christine. 100%.
Absolutely. All right, other questions on this slide so Christine can continue? Okay, go ahead.
All right, just make sure I check through this. All right, and so the college and career readiness benchmarks for 9, 10, 11 for Illinois are different from ACT because they're aligned to the Illinois learning standards. And so when we looked at the multicolor report card, this is where the ranges are for 11th grade, and it's also the same table that's included in the board memo. All right, so last year around this time, I talked about what that transition to the ACT would look like for us and for our students. I added one more column on the far right. This past fall, I should say 2 weeks ago, not this past fall, we administered the pre-ACT suite to students in grades 9 through 11. Huge undertaking, and shout out to Ivan Milosevic and Eunice Park, our testing coordinators at each of the buildings. We also wanted to make sure that our students didn't miss out on a scholarship opportunity that the PSAT and MSQT provides. And so both testing coordinators and our associate principals for operations also supported us in the administration of an optional Saturday, October 11th exam for juniors, and about 230 of the juniors took advantage of that opportunity and now have access to the scholarships and opportunities that an MSQT provides. Next month, we'll be sharing our plan for the ACT prep courses. I said last year, I'm not a fan of test prep courses. I think good instruction is the best test prep you can get. But I also understand that it is helpful for students, and that if we don't offer it for free, the only other option would be expensive courses outside in our community. So we want to make sure that we provide our students with that opportunity so they can get whatever level of preparation they feel they need to be successful in that college reportable exam in the spring. And that is the end of our ACT report.
So a semi-related question was, I know that the pre-ACT was tabled for our incoming 8th grade friends who will be freshmen this coming year. Is there a plan for those folks to have the opportunity to take that? Are we waiving it for that year and then just hoping that ACT has everything together to be able to get it done in the fall? Can you kind of brief us on that piece a little bit?
So typically we administer in the past it was a PSAT 8, and now it would have been the pre-ACT 8-9 on a Saturday for incoming 9th graders. And that Saturday would have been right around our Institute Day fall testing timeline. The ACT would not allow for a digital assessment to be administered on a Saturday. And so there was really no option for us to be able to administer the test to the students outside of pulling them from their current classes, which we did not want, because that would be removing instructional time from their 8th grade classes, or requesting that they take the test after a full day of classes. And it didn't seem worth it, given that there are other data points that we know that the center districts all administer that we can utilize to help us inform placement for courses for the students. And so our partners have been incredibly collaborative, our center district principals, data teams, superintendents, in helping us obtain their fall data. And so that would be NWA MAP and iReady, both of which are aligned to, I shouldn't say aligned to, there are case studies linking those to IAR and the performance levels that you saw. And so we'll be able to get a good idea of how to use that as a data point to inform placement. But like anything else, it is just a single data point. Just like when we offered the pre-ACT, that was a single data point. We collected other data and utilized recommendations from their 8th grade teachers to ensure that the students were best set up for success in their 9th grade courses.
Perfect. Other questions for Christine regarding the ACT scoring? No. All right. Keep up the good fight, my friend. Now I call Ray up for the policy second reading, discussion and action. Oh, that's right. Christine gets to stay for this one too. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. So may I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the policy second reading?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I'd like to hear discussion.
Well, in regards to the removing the requirement, this will be in my impact summary, but speaking to parents and staff, you know, a lot of them were kind of in consensus to removing that requirement because it just allows flexibility for, you know, students to kind of choose and pick their courses that they need.
Sally, you're talking specifically about the public speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. That's all I wanted to add to it.
Okay. Other discussion, conversation? So generally speaking, there's 2 public readings. Because of the initial reading that we did last session, we're going to count this as the second reading, and there has been extensive conversation and discussion in many committees, and we've heard on behalf of the board, so I feel like we can actually make a very well-informed conversation or decision in this situation. Ray, anything to add before we move forward?
Just a point of clarity, other than 11, everything, if approved tonight, would go into effect, meaning when the students register for their next courses, they will now we will apply these graduation requirements. Does that make sense?
So making sure that we're being really clear, there are no students currently at D219 who will be penalized according to these requirement changes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think we are all have minds have been made. May I have a roll call?
Member Dr. Koh? Member Cooley?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes. Thank you both. Now we're going to move to the next item of the agenda, tentative tax levy. Jim and Sarah, come on down. You are the next contestant. I was going to say, I don't know if I want to hear, I'm going to vote higher personally, but we'll let Jim tell the punchline on that joke. So in our finance committee meeting, as I recall, I've slept since then, so I might be wrong. We had an extensive conversation about the public levy and how that system works. And I feel like it is certainly worth repeating in this very public and televised space for our friends playing at home. Jim, if you could give us a briefing, essentially, 2 to 4 minutes about kind of public levy structure. The main question that we get related to financial concerns is, get my property taxes down. That's not what this is, and I want to make sure that we're being very specific and very deliberate in our educational process that of how funds actually enter this district and what that process is.
Absolutely. So the levy is really divided into two forms. It's the ask, which is what we are doing now and working through this process, and there's the extension, which the county goes through and says, okay, based upon CPI, EAV, which is the equalized assessed value, this is what the district is actually physically entitled to under law. And so we go through this process. It requires a tentative levy to be passed by the board through resolution first, and then that has to be done 20 days prior to the actual levy approval, which will happen on December 2nd. We feel that it is prudent to increase the amount of transparency around the levy through a public hearing. We are not levying over a 5% threshold. We're coming just under the 5% threshold at 4.99%. That is something called ballooning. That is a common practice utilized by school districts to ensure that they capitalize and capture all available monies available to the district through the property tax process. So we will hold a public hearing. In that, we will share a very similar presentation that we did with the Finance Committee that will walk through that process. We will also highlight the impact on a homeowner based upon what the averaged assessed value is in Niles Township. And so a taxpayer will be able to see what the school portion is. You have to keep in mind that there's multiple governmental entities that levy. So you have the library, you have us, you have the senders, there's multiple layers to that. So while they look at the school district as the predominant one, there are other elements that impact the overall component to that. So what you see tonight is kind of the tentative that we've drafted, looking at new property values expected based upon trend data, what we think is going to be happening in the market, and then we will walk through the process from there on December 2nd.
Wonderful. Do any board members have any questions related to the levy itself or the levy process? Okay. Ken?
Do we have an opportunity on the website to put out an FAQ on the levy?
It's actually, Sarah and I have talked about potential structures of what that might look like. I think once we get through the slide deck for the presentation, I think that would be probably the appropriate document potentially to post under the financial section of the website.
Question number one, how much will my taxes increase?
Out of our control, right? So it is, right, the element that we're able to influence is the rate. But depending, right, your neighbor could have some new, do some improvements, and the assessor says, oh, now your house is worth this. And so it fluctuates property to property based upon how the assessor does its triennial assessment.
Yes, but I'm wondering if Ken is alluding to, don't talk to me, talk to the assessor. Right. So making sure that we're understanding how those different pieces of the government work together. And again, happy to have the conversation, but talk to the people who can make the decisions, right? Given that there are no other conversation or discussion around this, may I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution regarding the estimated amounts necessary to be levied for the year 2025?
So moved.
May I have one of you two second it?
Second.
Any further discussion related to the levy itself? Okay, may I have a roll call?
Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akaras?
Yes.
Member Cooley?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Dr. Koh? Member Wood?
Yes. All right, thank you, Jim and Sarah. On to the next item on the agenda. What on earth? Sale of district property? Give us the tea. What happened?
We have made it to the next hurdle on the sale of Howard Street.
Okay.
So the board authorized the business office to put it up for sale. We have followed all of the language within school code to follow a process and a structure. There was 3 weekly kind of releases related to that sale. We had one bidder submit and meet the qualifying offer. Once this happens and the board, pending the approval, says yes, we then have a 90-day due diligence period. I did talk with Ken this afternoon, Ken, the attorney.
Good job.
He did specify that if the buyer would like to accelerate that 90-day period, that is up to the buyer. And so we would have the ability to potentially close sooner. We would just need a 30-day notice. There's multiple elements to this. It is the board resolution, and then this needs to go to the township treasurer's office to also then authorize the sale itself, because it's kind of a conglomerate of different components of how this works. So depending on those two pieces, we would maybe be able to accelerate. I know the buyer is very interested in getting into the property, but there's some things that we want to make sure we are transparent with and do our due diligence as well.
Absolutely, and I hope that they do or have come to understand that because we are a public body, we don't operate much like other real estate transactions might.
That was a sentiment that they reiterated within the opening of this is very different than that we're accustomed to. It is a company that seems to specialize in this kind of property where they use it for storage purposes itself. So I think all of the pieces are there. We're gonna, again, be cautiously optimistic that we get through our 90 days and we're able to close successfully.
So any questions? Nope. Jim, is there any issue that trustees of School Township 41 North hold the legal title to this property?
It's the way, it's the original, it's how deeds were, all the deeds were recorded with the treasurer's office.
Oh, that's the treasurer's office.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to have somebody else take a vote of some sort.
No, it's just, I think with the restructure, now that the school code has restructured the way the treasurer's office works, that is prior to that restructure. And so deeding was sitting with the treasurer itself.
Cool. Loving every part of that for us. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution of the Board of Education? All right, that works. Board of Education of Niles Township High School, District 219, Cook County, to sell real property.
So
moved. May I have a second? Second. Any discussion on this topic?
Sell it quick.
Okay, may I have a roll call?
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Cooley?
Yes.
Member Dr. Coe? Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Okay, yes. So we're going to have the second tangential motion to this. May I have a motion of the Board of Education to approve the resolution approving the sale of Niles Township District 219 real property?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Cooley?
Yes.
Member Dr. Coe? Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes. Should they live and be well and happy on that property? Okay, we are moving on to the next item. Following a resounding and fascinating public hearing at the beginning of this meeting, we are down to the resolution directing the transfer of $5,992,488 from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, and then to the Lease Certificate Fund of the district established for the purpose of paying debt service on the General Obligation Lease Certificates Limited Tax Series 2025. Jim, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment and providing a little education on why we need to do this, number one, and number two, remind us what those lease certificates are for.
Sure. And it's probably easier to start there. Under school code, when you build a new school, it typically requires a referendum unless the building itself or the land is being leased. Our intention with Niles Center was to pay cash since the district has healthy fund balances and not to burden our taxpayers with that additional component. So in order to fund the building, we leased the building through a process of the general obligation lease certificates last year for that component. It's a very short-term loan, in a sense, loan. Where we're paying a small amount of interest over the course of a 5-year term. The certificates themselves are callable in 3 years, which it's our intent to pay them in full and then in 2028. What's unique about a lease certificate is you cannot levy for that. So typically when you go through the tax levy process, if you have any long-term debt, the county treasurer says, how many bonds do you have? And they handle the levy amount for you. This is something that we have to pay out of operating funds because it's an operating cost related to construction. So there's kind of a two-part transfer. We're moving money out of the education fund to O&M, operations and maintenance, because this is for school construction. And then we're transferring that to debt service to make then the lease certificate payment. So it's a really complicated piece that, you know, due to provisions in school code, we're not able to simply fund the construction of a new school. We have to go through this process to make sure that we're compliant under the law.
Wackiest law on the Illinois books. We have to pay money to use our own money.
Correct.
Are there any questions for Jim related to this resolution? Okay. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution directing the transfer of $5,992,488 from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, and then to the Lease Certificate Fund of the district established for the purpose of paying debt service on the General Obligation Lease Certificates Limited Tax Series 2025. That was one breath. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? May I have a roll call?
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Dr. Ko? Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Cooley?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes. Thank you both so much. We appreciate you. All right. Calling Ray back to the table. We are on the final item under point 10, employee suspension.
Yep, just like student matters, we don't discuss personnel matters in open, but we did discuss this in closed. School code does, though, require that when the board takes action on an employee, you do need to read the name. So when you do read the motion, just remember to read the name into the motion, and then if approved, the board, we will send on behalf of the board a letter to the employee and work out the 3 days with them.
May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the resolution authorizing suspension without pay for Matthew Holbrook as discussed in closed session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
There was extensive discussion during closed. Is there any additional discussion now? Okay, seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Dr. Ko? Member Cooley?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Stennett?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes. Thank you, Ray. We're on to item 11 of the agenda, new business. Or is there any new business to come before the board? Okay. Now we are on to the, exciting, the superintendent's report.
I just feel like I'm about to let you down. Since today is Veterans Day, I do want to also thank our veterans that came earlier tonight and dedicated their time, and our students that came to recognize them, and to thank all of our staff members and members of the community that served. I also want to thank those of our students that will go on and choose military service in the coming years, and as their way to give back to the community. So thank you. I also want to recap in October. At the end of October, our families had the opportunity to participate in parent-teacher conferences. As you know, we do those a little bit differently now, and hopefully it's better for parents to be able to sign in and find time and engage with their children's teachers, because partnership is what education is about. We talk about it all the time, but we need each other. And I remember sometimes people saying, well, I don't, why is that parent signing up? They don't need to come in. Well, no, I always want to encourage parents. If your child's doing really well in a course, it's fine for you to sign up and go in and hear about that, because that's a good thing for parents and families to hear too. This isn't just for when times are struggling. And I just want to remind parents that if you weren't able to make it or something got in the way, please contact your child's teacher and set up a time for that conversation if you haven't had it yet. There is that push-pull as our kids move from elementary to middle and high school, and you do want that release and you do want that discussion, but at the same point, we're still our kids' parents, and that partnership with teachers is just so important. So reach out if you weren't able to. I also want to say for our staff, Institute Day, October 31st, was a great day. We received a lot of positive feedback about the sessions, powerful takeaways that enhance professional development, and appreciate all that led sessions and participated. Coming up this week, Literacy Fest will be held this weekend on Saturday, November 15th from 12 to 2 at North. The event is free and open to the community. All ages are welcome. There'll be games and giveaways, arts, crafts, and snacks, and story time. I also want to recognize this week is today is Veterans Day, which is about service. Now, I do want to recognize that November 15th is also School Board Members Day, which makes this School Board Members Recognition Week. And I do want to thank everybody here. And it's not a joke. And I always say the same thing from Aristotle, and that's that politics exists for the sake of noble deeds. And so Aristotle had this idea, because people talk about why have government, and it was provide for common defense, provide for exchange of cost, and this idea of that it's economic or it's mutual defense or it's survival. Really just survival is why we have communities. And Aristotle said, no, we come together to provide for more virtuous lives for us and for our children. This notion goes back thousands of years. And really, the idea of what do we do to establish that our children have the opportunity for a virtuous and honorable life, and how do we provide that, is the essence of school board service. And I know the letters that these people get that are not always saying, boy, you did a good job, and we just love the superintendent you hired. We know that that's not what they always get. And they devote time and energy and resources. So I just want to thank Amber, Ken, Celia, Lindley, Candace for your devotion and time. And Nora is on. Yes, you're right. I was just looking at who I saw. Sorry. Your devotion and your time and what you do for the kids and for this community, we do appreciate, and I thank you on behalf of all of them and from our teachers and staff and administration here. Now, many people would say you have a long stretch of September and October, and when is there a break? Well, there's a break coming up. November 26th to 28th, just a reminder, there's no school. Wish all of our students and families a restful Thanksgiving break. And hopefully, whatever way we come together with those that we love, hopefully we do find that time to reflect and spend time meditating on what makes us thankful to be here, because I am deeply thankful to be here in D219 and be able to work with the people I work with every day. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. So we are going to move on to our board committee reports. As has become our custom, we are going to report out on each committee. So if there are multiple people on a committee, decide amongst yourselves. I will offer a friendly reminder that the Triple I Conference is coming up, and so I look forward to having a brief report out in the same section about learnings and gleanings from that conference. So starting with Finance Committee, as you can see, actually we voted on several things this evening that we covered in the Finance Committee, so I will do us all a favor and not repeat them. One of the highlights I felt from the Finance Committee was that the Quest team, who are the folks who do our food service, came and reported in. Their willingness to hear what's going on and really to be thoughtful about engaging our district has been a complete 180, and I appreciate that. I appreciate also that their president actually attended our last committee meeting, and I'm going to take a wild guess he didn't go to all of them. So it has been a significant improvement in the relationship, and I'd like to say thank you to both Jim and Sarah for helping facilitate that relationship. We know that fed kids are kids who can learn, and we want to be thoughtful about what we are feed them, both body and mind. So next, facilities. Candace?
So that was on October 14th, so we talked about, of course, the Howard Street sale, and when we think, hopefully, fingers crossed, that would be going through. We talked about the 50 AEDs that we were purchasing for the school. They needed to be replaced, so buying it in bulk was better. We also talked about the 8 to 10 year plan, so looking at both all of the facilities and just kind of what we see the future, or what we're looking at towards just, they were throwing out ideas, maybe geothermal. We were definitely talking about like the systems, like the network. That's probably like the first thing that would need to be looked at and replaced before we get into anything else as far as security and cameras and anything like that. And yeah, we were pretty much, that was like probably the main thing was looking at the network, because apparently it has not been that great at the school, so that really needs to be looked at and replaced before anything else, because that would be the smart thing to do, rather than change all of our security and cameras before we have a good, standing network. So that was a big topic for facilities. So, and then obviously the two buildings, you can see like they're coming along, like even the paint on the one closest to Oakton, and like I was like, wow, they've already painted, like all the walls are up. So yeah, it's moving. It looks like it's going to be done on time. Shocking. I mean, for construction, that's
I know,
great.
right?
I'm like, especially in this climate. So yeah, it's moving along. It's really good.
Well, that snow the other day certainly spurred us all forward quickly. Equity, we focused a lot on the strategic plan, and as it relates to equity, we really focused on, again, Dr. Haskins led us through a wonderful conversation about what are the pieces that what keeps us up at night when we think about equity and the strategic plan? What are the pieces that we really want to focus on, and making sure that we're using that lens of access and opportunity? So a brief report for a wonderful conversation, but we look forward to continuing that conversation actually next week when we have our triple header. EPAC, Celia?
Yeah, so EPAC, which stands for Educational Policy Advisory Council, met on October 16th. There were just, it was a pretty light agenda. We talked about the graduation requirement in regards to public speaking, and as I mentioned earlier, that members on the committee had agreed that removing that requirement would be helpful for course planning and allows for flexibility. We also talked about makeup, the makeup work policy in regards to physical welfare. Niles West Director Joe Collins had said he had reiterated to teachers and staff about the district's policy regarding makeup work for both excused and unexcused absences. So students with up to 4 excused absences are not required to complete makeup work. So there was just, and just to give you some back, I guess there was like it wasn't very clear and consistent. So that was brought up in a previous EPAC meeting, And since then, it seems like that communication has been clear and consistent amongst the staff. Cell phone policy, we talked about cell phone policy. It seems majority of the teachers are effectively managing cell phone policy expectations. I've heard from parents who said they're happy. You know, there's not a lot of disruption. Teachers said there's not a lot of disruption. So parents participating in discussion reported positive feedback, indicating that the current policy is functioning as intended. And lastly, there was, on the agenda was regarding the dress code. And the dress code in regard specifically to hate speech on clothing. So it looks like it kind of aligns with policy 7190, which says that anything that would endanger a student or student's health or welfare, or that would cause damage to school facilities or furnishings, that clause reinforces that the district's commitment to maintaining a safe and respectful learning environment. And that's it.
Fabulous. Thank you, Celia. Policy, Ken?
All right. Well, that was on October the 22nd. I regret to inform everyone that our most favorite committee, there was miraculously no public comments again.
I get it.
Maybe next time. We continue to work through our board policy manual, working with ISAB and the policy customization project, reviewing section 7 and 8 of the manual, and all the red lines and edits were discussed to great extent by Ray, Amber, Dr. Noor, and ISB, our ISB representative, John. And Christine laid out the case for changing the graduation requirements, which were presented tonight. And we will meet again on November the 24th, and knock on wood, hopefully wrap things up for this year so that we can finalize everything at the beginning of next year.
So just so that all the board members present have a sense of this, you will have some wonderful cozy reading for your fireside December weeks. I do believe that Ray is going to talk to John about making sure that we have kind of an overview of any specific wording or changes. The policy manual is in its entirety going to have to be voted on. It is over 400 pages of policy. It is riveting. Don't be jealous. I've read it once already. But I will tell you, the expectation is that you will need to, at the very minimum, read through and review the edits. So just so you have a heads up in terms of planning your work, and with the expectation that we would do a first reading and a second reading. So CFC?
We looked at some data, so that was exciting. So we looked at students that were like the first set of CFC that are now, juniors here. So we got to look at, just how they were performing in all of the math, reading, everything. So that was really exciting just to look at that and, kind of have the proof that, this is a great program and it's successful to kind of bridge the gap between the feeder schools and the high school. So we pretty much looked at that for the majority of the time we were there. And then, we've got some new people that joined, so that was exciting.
District 68.
68, yep, they've joined. So they were just happy to be there and kind of were looking at the data and kind of, I guess, trying to learn and grasp what they wanted to, what they kind of wanted to look at. And then we just had more questions, mainly about what's next. I think, what's next? Is it the literacy?
Well, the ELA research was just, we would definitely wanted more information on
Yeah.
that, some flat data. Also not included in the data yet is the NTDSE
Right.
information,
Yep.
which is just sort of note.
Yeah, that's very true.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Ken, TSCI, which is the Technology Committee?
TCSI.
Oh,
So.
my bad. Oh, no, fix that. Well, don't worry about it, Melissa. It's okay. Well, why don't you report on the technology either way?
All right. So the meeting on October the 23rd, our illustrious CTO Phil Heinz and team discussed the implementation of AI policies at District 219, talking about the importance of teacher feedback through a survey by Teach Plus, the SOPA, Student Online Personal Protection Act mandate was explained. We talked about the need for data privacy agreements for all of our digital resources in D219. The district has approximately 277 approved platforms, and we are developing more, which will be detailed on that SOPA resource page. The class link app tracking tool was introduced so that we could streamline the app approval process at D219. Magic School and Magic Student AI tools were demonstrated, and we focused on their educational applications and the need for a teacher intervention to ensure accuracy and feedback and grading. And we talked a little bit about, well, I talked a little bit about the digital divide in AI access and the importance of promoting AI literacy in an equitable way, tying back to our equity board meeting.
Fantastic. Information items. Oh,
I
wait.
added TLC because we met yesterday.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. TLC.
Yesterday, I was just gonna let that go until the next day.
I was like, no, while it's fresh on the brain.
Okay, well, I gotta
While it's-
re-pull up my notes. I was like, oh, we're not doing it tonight.
Well,
right?
while it is fresh on the brain, let's do it. TLC.
Oh my gosh. You can, I gotta pull back up.
Okay. Well, so obviously the choice was capstone, so that's like finals schedule. So they sent out a survey, so they were kind of dissecting that and going through, you know, what they got from the results. I thought it was nice to hear like the students talk about how they were asking, you know, them about it and communicating with them. So I think that's great because student feedback is definitely needed, and that definitely aligns with the equity meeting about how can we tie in all of these subcommittees into, you know, aligning with the equity. So I thought that was great. And, you know, for me, it was very informative, just looking at how everybody looks at it so different. A suggestion was about like those 2 weeks kind of doing like a block scheduling for the finals, and, you know, like, but then some people were like, no, that may not be good because, you know, like I didn't get a grasp. I wasn't sure that they were really feeling that. I feel like they didn't really like that idea. I think they felt like it was maybe too much, or they felt like it would be wasted time on the times that they wouldn't be taking it, or how it was mapped out. So I don't know. I guess they're still trying to figure it out and revisit. So this is the early stages, so there'll be a lot of back and forth. But is there anything else that I missed?
I would just add that I thought it was really kind of cool that they really are trying to figure out like communicating the meaning of the week to the seniors and to well, really I guess the whole school, but like the seniors really too. Is it capstone week, or do we call it finals week? And are we just using capstone because of college and like that's, you know what I mean? Like what does that mean to these kids? Like kind of nothing right now. So we need to really like drive home what this means and make them excited about it. And then they were also discussing like, you know, this needs to be cohesive, and then also discussing like, do the kids come back after their finals, like the seniors come back, and then like if they miss a final, like can they make it up, and what is like excused and what's not. So I think they have a lot to go on. All the departments are now tasked with going home and figuring out like kind of what they, taking all the notes that they got from the feedback, honing in on those and coming back together. It's a lot of people.
Yes.
And it is a lot of hard, like, I don't know how they're gonna come, you know what I mean? Like the
an
agreement
yeah.
seems like it's gonna be very difficult.
Yeah.
We just gotta sit there and listen, 'cause we're just like privy
But I
to
feel
it.
like they're very, it's, yeah, like I feel like it's still very split and kind of, I feel like each department still is very like, this works best for me, that works best for me. So it's gonna be interesting how they're gonna try to come to a cohesive one idea. I also thought it was interesting when they were saying like, a lot of kids, or I guess parents, are like, well, it's fine during finals week, you can miss and then take it later. So that has been something that the teachers were bringing up too, that students are doing that. So they're also
They just
like,
have to drive home how important this
Yeah.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. It seems to me to kind of come back to that root cause of communication, right? Being clear in our expectations and communicating those adequately. So I'm excited to hear the next chapter of the TLC telenovela.
Now, you see, President Wood, that is an example of riveting.
Riveting. That's absolutely riveting,
That
which
is
is what we need to do in policy. All right, noted, noted.
Not 400
All right, the information for FOIA and monthly financial report has been provided. And I'm very excited that we're going to adjourn this meeting before 9:30, but I'm even more excited to provide science. You can, if you look out over the West Field right now, see the Northern Lights. And for anyone who's never seen them before, I highly and strongly recommend you check out a borealis if you got an opportunity. It's not bright green, but if you take pictures, you can see it more clearly. So take a moment, go check it out. It's super cool. I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call? Don't move yet.
We're not moving.
Member
Okay.
Stennett?
Yes.
Member Dr. Akras?
Yes.
Member Wisniewski?
Yes.
Member Cooley? Yes. Member Durr?
Yes.
Member Dr. Coe? Member Wood?
Yes, the motion carries. Have a great night. Somebody send a picture of the aurora to Noor.